Hello and welcome to this recorded webinar regarding the Scotland's Peatland Standard Consultation. I'm Stephen Varwell. I'm Planning and Communications Manager with Peatland Action, and between myself and my colleague Ian McKee, we'll be walking you through the presentation today. We've run two live webinars on this topic, and we're running another one at the beginning of August. But if you're not able to attend any of these live webinars, then you can watch this recording and get exactly the same information. We're going to cover what Scotland's Peatland Standard is, what we're looking for from you, how you can respond, and how you can promote the consultation as well to your colleagues and stakeholders. But first, a reminder of what the Peatland Action Partnership is. It's a national programme to restore peatlands across Scotland, led by Scottish Government in partnership with Nature Scot, the two national park authorities, Scottish Water and Forestry and Land Scotland. Nature Scot work with a number of partner organisations as well to provide a network of project officers right across Scotland. What we do, you'll perhaps be familiar with the restoration work that we do and the funding that we provide, but we do more than that. We provide advice, guidance, support, and funding to do feasibility work, to design projects, to secure funding for them, and to then deliver projects on the ground. In addition to that, we provide technical advice to ensure that the work that is carried out is to the best possible standard. We have data and evidence to gather information on the benefits that we deliver and the extent of our peatland restoration. We're working hard to develop the workforce for today's requirements, but also for tomorrow's as well as we expand our ambitious targets. We promote the benefits of peatland action and peatland restoration and encourage people to get involved in whatever way they can. And we're increasingly looking at ways to lever in private finance so that we can get more restoration work done to help deliver our targets. A quick recap of the Scottish Government's climate change plan. Embedded within that plan is a recognition of the important role that peatland and peatland restoration has in delivering Scotland's climate change targets. It sets us ambitious targets for restoring peatlands and getting them into a healthy condition, and it also highlights that we will consult on and launch Scotland's Peatland Standard. So the Peatland Standard is right at the heart and centre of Scottish Government policy. Sitting below the climate change plan is the 5-year partnership plan for restoration for peatland action, and that introduces 3 themes: further, fairer and better. And under better, we're challenged to improve how we work and to solve technical challenges, and that's where the Peatland Standard comes in to help us solve those technical challenges. How have we promoted the consultation so far? We've promoted it to a wide range of audiences, stakeholders that help to protect and manage and restore Scotland's peatland. We've put information on our website, and there's a dedicated web page for this. We've sent emails out to a wide range of stakeholders and followed this up with a lot of press releases and social media posts as well on the Peatland Action channels. In addition to that, we've put a range of promotions in industry publications. We've also run 3 online webinars for people to come along, find out more and ask questions, and we're also doing this recording as well. But we want to do more, and we need the message and the consultation shared as widely as possible. So we'd really ask you to share that with your colleagues, with your stakeholders, with the people that you come across, and to get that message across to them. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Ian McKee, who will talk you through the standard and also the consultation response process. Thank you.
So what is the purpose of the consultation? Well, basically, we need your help to make it as good as possible. So far, it's been developed by a large number of people from different organizations, and those previous stages of development have gathered a wealth of knowledge and experience. But obtaining your input now is the most important stage of all. And why is that? Well, editing has been really challenging. It's been difficult to know what to include and what not to include, and to keep the document short and readable. We also want you to find the information that you need really easily. And at the end of the day, it must be useful for you. We want it to work for all of our stakeholders. So what is Scotland's Peatland Standard? We want to provide leadership in technical matters, kind of resulting from all of that technical knowledge that we've gathered from others and yourselves. We want to improve practices and ensure consistency. And that is, as I say, for cross protection management and restoration of peatlands. And we're going to introduce the principles to guide decision making. So rather than set out a standard, we're not setting out a standard which describes exactly what the outcomes have to be. It's rather ensuring that the decision making is done very well, which leads to the outcomes being achieved. So we also will clarify legislative and regulatory requirements, and it connects to key sources of information as well. This is a big picture view of the standard and how it's structured. So we have 10 chapters, and then a glossary, and then a number of annexes as well. And I'm now going to zoom into certain sections of this to describe them in more detail. So Chapter 1 outlines the scope of the standard, how it was developed, what the policy context is in which it works, and how to use it. Chapter 2 is a foundational chapter illustrating how peatlands function, helps understand how they have been damaged or broken in the past, and how we can prevent that in the future, or indeed restore those ones. So chapters 3 and 4 taken together are what I call the engine of the standard. Chapter 3 outlines the objectives based on the outcomes and gives some success indicators. And then we have all 3 activity pathways: we protect, manage, and restore, covered in that. And in chapter 4 is where the principles are contained and set out. So we have universal principles that apply across all 3 of those activity pathways, and then we have specific ones for each as well. I want to explain why the principles are so important within the standard. As I said, it's not based on achieving a certain condition or a certain improvement in habitat by a certain amount of time. Rather, the standard is influencing and improving the decision-making process, which then leads to a better outcome. So it'll support decision-making, improve the effectiveness of our work, allowing us to learn from experience, but at the same time providing the basis for designing new innovative approaches. The parts of the standard, like the principles, for example, will provide a language or a framework from which to discuss when collaborating with others and discussing options. For example, with considering alternative methods in protection or restoration of peatlands. And of course, it'll help us balance trade-offs as well. So really, principles are powerful, I believe, and have the potential to bring the benefits of all of the sections. But I think it's really important, if you can think of, when you're responding to the questionnaire for this particular question, if you can think of a challenging situation where you were involved in making a technical decision in the past, would the principles have helped arrive at that good solution that you found, or even suggest a better solution, or just do it in a better way, approach it in a different way? And I must stress as well that the principles are there, but if alternative approaches can be used, if supported by robust technical knowledge or experience, then that's still very good. So this is a screenshot of the table of the universal principles. There are 7 of those. I'm not going to go into them in detail, But yeah, there are also 6 activity-specific pathway principles are also given, so please have a look at those. Then we have Chapter 5, which has the requirements and the guidance framework. So 3 types of requirements, and then we have guidance, which suggests ways in which the requirements can be met. The requirements consist of the legal requirements, so that's existing law in Scotland, and act as a good checklist of that. And then we have essential good practice requirements, which we regard as needed in order to meet the objectives in any given circumstance. And then the additional supporting practices are those which may not be applicable in any given situation and add value to the activity or the decision. And in Chapter 6, 7, and 8, we have protecting, managing, and restoring peatlands and how that is carried out in Scotland. Chapters 9 is of interest for those who are organising an operational activity, actually managing a contract or project, for example. So Chapter 9 has information which also is, a lot of the information is contained at the moment in the annex, and that acts as a checklist. They're both arranged into topics, grouped into topics, all of the information, and they're listed in chronological order of how they're encountered during the project from start to finish, by and large. And in Chapter 10 we have is the assessing outcomes. It's a very high level guide as to how outcomes can be assessed against the objectives in Chapter 3. And in the glossary and the annexes, as I said before. And the annexes are providing additional information for readers, for example, providing further explanations and clarifications. And there's actually one of the annexes provides examples of how the principles could be applied. So what are we looking for in the consultation? As I said, it's really about how it can be improved. We want this really to work better for you. It is a consultation draft, and we've got an opportunity to make it even better than it is. The questions gather your thoughts on the following topics: navigation, ambition, adding value, usability, completeness, context, and balance. So there's 37 questions in total. Roughly half of those are open text box questions, and all of the questions after, from question 4 onwards are optional. So you don't have to answer all of them, but please do answer as many as you want to. And they're grouped into 9 sections in the questionnaire for ease of completion. I would suggest that you complete it in one go, and don't close it down before you've submitted it. But for those of you who have a Microsoft account and know how to go in and save the questionnaire as you've partially completed it, and then come back in and log in again and come back in, apparently that can be done, but that's beyond my ability. So I'm just going to complete it in one go, just to be safe and so that I don't lose any of my answers. Questions about you are the first 3 questions. So it's your type of stakeholder that you are, your area of interest, in which country you live or work in. And then we have a 4th question, which you can input your contact email. And that can help with us with one of 2 things or both things. It's completely optional, of course. If you put your email in there, we'll let you know when we've completed our report on how the consultation responses were gathered and what the main themes were. So, and the other reason is if we're not clear about one of your answers in the open text questions, then we can contact you again to discuss further and make sure we understand what you're meaning. So this is an example in the questionnaire of how there are 3 options and then a free text box. So this adding value question is about the principles that I've already mentioned, but it's asking, are they effective to help decision making in achieving the objectives? And there's, you've got options there of yes, partially, and no, and then the free text box below that, which where you can give us details of why you've kind of given that answer and how we can make it better. And then this is an example of rating a question in 1 to 5 from not useful to very useful and everything in between there. and again a free text box for answering as well. So what next? We're going to collate and analyze your responses and prepare a report, as I said earlier. Carry out further edits based on the responses, and that's all going to be supervised by the steering group that we've set up. And we are going to publish Scotland's Peatland Standard, the first ever edition, in December. So that's the plan ahead. I would just like to thank you for watching the video. If you have any further questions about, or you're unsure about responding, please do send an email to that email address, and you can find out more as well on our website there too. And thank you in advance of completing the standard or the questionnaire about Scotland's Peatland Standard. We're really keen to hear from you. Thank you and goodbye.